I think Britannia has been a very, very exciting journey. We did a campaign called Prashant. There was an influencer in some part of Haryana who mispronounced croissant.
Patties.
Prasad.
Prasant.
We had Dhoni at that point of time as our brand ambassador.
Before going to school, it was sort of a tradition for us to have tea, and with that, it has to be Britannia Rusk.
We saw a lot of mothers all excited, all smiling.
Britannia, it holds a very, very special place in every Indian household.
But I think we have a sizable business which is beyond biscuits. Whether it is breads, whether it is rusk, whether it is cake. The important thing is that if you know your consumers, failures teach you more than ever success can. Be curious, be hungry, and the world will be yours. I think it's a tricky question. Don't know how to make a choice. For Britannia, the challenge would always be ki.
Hello and welcome to today's special conversation. I am delighted to be joined by Mr. Shekhar Agarwal, General Manager, Britannia Industries. Shekhar has built a career at the central theme of consumer insights and building brands from there. From Titan's iconic watch campaigns to Havmor's new age ice cream brand, from disruption of the beer category by Kingfisher Ultra to Café Coffee Day's exploration of the urban youth culture, our guest today has seen it all, done it all, been a part of it all. As part of the central theme that we uncovered today in our Brand Conclave 2025, building brands for next generation customers, this conversation today will unpack innovation and what means for leaders like our guest today. What is innovation? What is disruption? And what do our consumers and customers require as we expect the next generation customers? Thank you so much, Shekhar. It's a privilege to have you here with us today. Take us through the entire journey. You have been a part of ice creams, watches, beer category, and now Britannia. What is exciting about all these categories? Where did it all start? The transitions? Please tell us about it.
So one, I think first, great to be here. Great to be at Great Lakes and be a part of the Brand Conclave.
Thank you so much.
To be able to imagine the future along with you guys is all the more exciting.
Thank you.
I think I've always been wishing to be a marketer, and I think that's what my journey has been. I don't see myself as somebody who's typecast to a category or to a segment, and hence I made conscious choices or unconscious choices in my journey along with it. It started with Café Coffee Day when it was in the heart of creating youth cultures, creating youth spaces, getting coffee to be a reason for having somebody to step out of home and possibly have a conversation. From there, I think Titan was a great impression on my career. I really had amazing time in Titan. Some of the work which we did was outstanding. I continue to really be excited about what we did there, what we created in that organization of working at the bottom of the pyramid. Looking at a sub 500 category, looking at a watch with a guarantee of 1 year, I think in those days was very, very differentiated, very excited. And along the way, I've worked in other companies, including United Breweries on Kingfisher Ultra, in a very different segment, more in the premium space, more in the urban youth space of creating a drink which can basically lead you to connections, lead you to conversations, and a lot more. Last piece where I've worked actually twice, not even once, is Britannia. I think Britannia has been a very, very exciting journey. I've been a part of some consumer brands of the organization, and it has been fun working and trying to create new products, create communication, and become relevant and meaningful in consumers' life.
That is amazing to know. The journey that is spanned, and you rightfully said that you always wanted to be a marketer, and that doesn't stop at any category. What challenges still would you say are there part of these traditions, or are there none if you think of it in some manner?
I think if I understand your question right, I think the challenge for a marketer is always there that how do you form a part of your consumer's life? How are you relevant for him? How do you stand in his mind? How do you ensure that people see you as differentiated and not as another Me-Too? And how do you do it, whether it is through any part of the mix, whether it's product, whether it is communication, whether it is packaging. So you need to continue to know your consumers the best. I think the most important thing is that if you know your consumers, live his life, think of what works for him, what doesn't work, how there have been transformation in his life. If you can participate in that, then it really, really makes a lot of difference. I'll give you an example. We launched a brand called Britannia Treat Croissant. It's a European snack. People don't know what croissant is. At max, possibly the understanding of croissant is limited to urban youths, possibly when you go to a 3-star, 5-star property or a high street bakery. Now, what we realize is that a traditional croissant is flaky in nature.
Right.
It's like a puff. The moment you put that as a packaged croissant, people think that if it is flaky, then it is Nestle old and it is close to expiry. Hence, the product which we created is a product which we created for India, and we didn't follow the global template. Because if we had followed the global template, it wouldn't work. So I think that many a times these consumer immersions, consumer interactions is what defines success or failure. And that's the challenge for any marketer, that how close you are to your consumer, how much are you able to think and visualize his life, and you're trying to find a role for your product.
Well, that brings me to one more thing. I think while you were talking, I was keenly listening to the fact that how Britannia is now working on completely newer things. Britannia is a legacy brand. They have trust that they have built in with their customers, the amount of knowledge that this brand contains because of the fact that they have been in the industry for so long. And yet, it doesn't stop at experimentation. Like you actually said there, Britannia has released Treat Croissant. Is there a difference when you're experimenting with a brand like Britannia? Are there some sort of things that you look at when you're trying to understand the customer trust? Should we not lose that? Should we focus on the things that we've always been good at? The bread and butter, which is the biscuits of Britannia, or experimentation is the new way that they're looking at?
I think Britannia has been a legacy company, as you mentioned. I think we've been in Indian houses since 1892.
Absolutely.
So we are 130-year-old, young or old, whichever way you want to look at. The belief that if it's a Britannia product, then it's a product which is high on taste, which is good for you, which brings the family together, is a positive brand. And that is non-negotiable. Whether we experiment, whether we get into new categories, whether we remain in the core, that is non-negotiable. We need to ensure that what we stand for sticks on every product we create. Other than that, see, we have been a biscuit company, but I think we have a sizable business which is beyond biscuits, whether it is breads, whether it is rusk, whether it is cake, whether it is dairy. We have a sizable business. Possibly people just think, but I think even that perception is not there anymore. It's not only a biscuit moment, or it's not only a cake moment. And hence we will continue to experiment, continue to look at new categories wherever we think we have a right to win. But not at the cost of playing with our values, playing with what we stand for. And hence, whether it is Treat Croissant, whether it is a BU bars, whether it is Come Alive Greek yogurt, we'll continue to look at newer opportunities where we can interact with our consumers and give them a reason to have us.
Britannia, I think it holds a very, very special place in your heart, and in every Indian household you would find. I remember before going to school, it was sort of a tradition for us to have tea, and with that, it has to be Britannia rusk. And I think that speaks volumes about the kind of trust that Britannia has built over a period of time in the Indian minds of people. They consider Britannia as a symbol of trust, symbol of reliability. Apart from the fact that you said that it is a philosophy that it is followed, how different is a category from one, and what would you tell us how Britannia is building on the adjacency portfolio that it currently has? How are they differentiated? How does Britannia act on it? And what else new can we expect in the future?
Britannia is looking at the entire spectrum of food opportunities for its consumer. We today have active businesses in the adjacency spaces, which are rusk, cake, croissant, nutrition bars, which were already products which are there in the market. But we're continuing to look at newer opportunities, continuing to look at spaces where we think there is exciting possibilities. And we will continue to invest in looking at new products, creating them, and bringing to that. Common thread which will still remain is that whenever we bring a product, it's not with the intention that we have to be there. It's an intention that what we create has to be relevant, meaningful, play a role in the consumer's life, has to meet the common standard of ensuring trust, consistency, quality, highest point of delivery, and those will never be touched. And hence today at this point of time, we are evaluating multiple food opportunities where we think Britannia can play a role in consumers' life. So we are not restricted by anything. We're restricted by what the consumer's imagination is.
That is beautifully said. I think trust, reliability, those two things is what drives Britannia. And then, of course, consumers is what it's at the center of everything of it all. For you personally, what is that favorite thing that you would call from Britannia that, okay, this is the category that I really, really like, whether it's biscuits, whether it's um, edible items in terms of yogurt or the newer treat croissant that has been launched?
I think it's a slightly tricky question. Don't know how to make a choice. As a consumer, I've been consuming Britannia Nutritious for almost the last 15, 17 years. So there's a certain amount of comfort food for me. When I'm having my morning tea, I need to have the Britannia Nutritious. There's some brands which I work on wherein obviously I have a bias towards them. I think Treat Croissant, the fact that we were able to bring a global category in India and give it an Indian twist to it, I think remains very special. Cakes is a business which I've worked on multiple spans of mine, and it really looks a category where there's so much of work which is doable. There's so much of excitement which is there. So many formats which are there. So I think a lot of experiences of brands on Britannia which remain very special.
It is surely exciting. The fact that every day is newer is what I can feel that Britannia is headed towards. If we have to talk about one thing that you would say that next generation customers and how traditional marketing was directed towards, what has changed over the period of time, over the last 5 years, if you would say so?
I think the core marketing doesn't change. I think the core marketing continues to be the same. I think the mediums change. I think what we see is that today it is far more focused on digital marketing, but the rules of marketing don't change. If you have a good story to tell, it's still relevant. It would be even relevant for the next 10, 15, 20 years. Whether it is long format, short format, doesn't matter. People's attention span has come down, and hence you need to basically tell the story in a manner in which it still can hold the consumer's attention. But if it's a story which is intriguing, a story which can win his attention, it will still be relevant. So I personally believe we see a far more importance to digital than what it was possibly 10 years back. But the rules are the same. I think how you adapt to what the current situation is and how it would be in the time ahead, I think that's what you have to be doing to be relevant, to ensure that your communication is engaging, you're being a part of it. I think one of the recent examples of Britannia, which I really, really feel very proud about, we did a campaign called Prashant. The Prashant campaign was all picked up on a social trend. It was not even a trend. It was just an initial glimmer that there was an influencer in some part of Haryana who mispronounced croissant. We picked it up from there, and the way we worked around with agility, with authenticity and the storytelling really made it almost a campaign which broke almost every possible boundary. We got every single marketing award which matters in the country. I think this is a little different from possibly what it would have been 10 years back, where it would have been more a classical market. I think still you need to, the tenets don't change. The tenet of being authentic, of ensuring that what you're communicating is simple, singular. I think those tenets will continue to hold, and that is what I think as marketing students we continue to focus on.
I very, very funnily enough, the Prashant that you mentioned, I saw that that video over Instagram and how it got up. The amazing part that followed was how quickly was Britannia able to ride that. They almost created this is like a wave or a trend that was created by Britannia to catch up on these things, and then, as you rightfully said, and well deserved, because it should be like this. The marketing that is now so trigger marketing, I would say, if that is the right word, where things are event based, things are very micro at the same level, and that could depends on how well you speak it about, and that takes it along the way. You spoke about campaigns, and campaign is something that really, really excites us all here as management students. What is that favorite campaign of yours that still stands out for you?
Internally, I think there are some campaigns which have been really, really my favorite ones. I think there's one such campaign which we did on Britannia cakes. cakes, packaged cake specifically, was a very limiting category in the sense that it was possibly relevant in East and parts of South. For a lot of other geographies, packaged cake had no role to play. When you think about cakes in people's life, it was all about pastries, it was all about special occasions, it was all about birthday cakes. Hence, the whole challenge was that how do we create relevance? How do you basically enter people's home where possibly they don't know, there's no occasion for cakes to be consumed, especially packaged cake. And we created one of the earlier campaign on Britannia cake, which was Cow in a Bus. Insight came that when we reached out to consumers and we did consumer interactions, we found that in a lot of households, especially in markets like West Bengal, Assam, Northeast, consumers don't necessarily see, mothers specifically don't see cakes as something which is only indulgent. They see as something which is good, which lets my kid finish his tiffin box. It's a great product to give along the rest of the food in my tiffin, and hence it's for me my go-to snack. When we got that understanding, that insight, and we took that insight to the rest of the country, we saw a lot of mothers all excited, all smiling. Hence, that campaign came from the germ of thought, and it basically showed that Britannia cakes equals to milk plus egg plus fruit. You won't believe that the power of that communication was that 3 months, 6 months down the line, markets which were dark markets suddenly opened up. The category was alive and thriving. Britannia was making a presence in those outlets which it had never been. A very simple idea coming from a consumer insight turned into communication really changed the game. I think there's one more campaign which I want to mention. Done an initial campaign on Sonata, which is a volume brand of type.
Right.
And Superfiber was meant to talk to the rural or the tier 2, tier 3 youth. Fast Track had by that time already created a name for itself, but it was seen still as a very urban brand. And the challenges there were very different. The challenges were that today for a youth who basically is in a Muradabad or a Jhansi or a Satara, wanted a very young, sporty, fun plastic watch. All he could end up was buying a Chinese watch which was unreliable, which was high on gimmicky but low on durability. Keeping that understanding in mind, we thought that is it possible for us to create a product which basically stands for durability, is young, the design is very contemporary, makes it look sporty, makes it look fun. And we had Dhoni at that point of time as our brand ambassador. Dhoni really brought that entire belief that India of tomorrow is ours. If you are from Ranchi or if you are from any other smaller city, you have equally a chance to be successful. And keeping that in mind, we created a campaign wherein we just showed a swag of a young kid who basically goes up to Dhoni to play a game of football, and he wins the game. And when Dhoni takes out his watch, he happily takes it. So I think, simple stories which are there in people's home, in people's mind, if you tell them the right way, it really ensures that it does a lot for the business. It does a lot for bringing your brand to the consumer. And I think these are some stories which are very memorable.
That actually brings back a lot of memories. My first watch was that Sonata series that was launched after the Dhoni campaign. And I did saw that. I had loved what the story told, how it was all created. And while I was doing a little bit of research, I saw that Cow in a Bus ad. It was done long back, but it is absolutely a piece of advertising, I think, that broke the way that people consider your brand and think about you. And secondly, I think the campaign that you mentioned about Dhoni and Sonata, I still have that watch. I still have that watch with me. And it is amazing how Sonata was able to relate to kids of all age groups. And I think we all wanted a Sonata watch at that period of time. If we talk about campaigns, and one that stood out to me while I think this came, not sure on the timeline, I think it came some time ago, which was Nature Shapes Britannia. That was such incredible level of creativity that was shown by Britannia, where they were talking about their sustainability initiatives, but they were walking the talk by actually the hoardings being carved out in a manner that none of the trees or none of the greenery or nature is ever affected by that. That really stood out to me as what Britannia thinks of sustainability. At its heart, at its core, we see hoardings everywhere, and they disrupt and they take huge spaces. And here is Britannia showcasing how they can shape themselves around nature. Could you tell us something about that as well? What was the story behind?
I think that campaign was a part of the sustainability initiatives which we had. And it was borrowed from a simple idea that today we all realize that being pro nature, being pro sustainability is a smart choice. We've already done a lot of harm to the nature. And today, if we're not conscious, then we might not let uh, things be there for the next generation. And keeping that in mind, I think it was very powerful messaging of being able to show that you can work along with nature and its forces rather than trying to uproot everything. This entire campaign of looking at creating hoardings which were playing around with whatever spaces were available rather than trying to build a regular template
Right.
is the bigger message which comes out of the campaign. You can shape yourself, you can work around rather than trying to uproot or change everything because you have to fit into a template. I think the campaign came out so beautifully that it stood out. People really resonated. People said, Kivya, this is something which is so true, so relevant. We all think that that's the way it should be. And I think it really did the job for what it was created.
It absolutely did. Everywhere that I could see, as marketing students, we're very excited when a company comes up with newer campaigns, and it incites us to, and just incites curiosity within us to understand what was the thought that went behind this, and how it all came across was just sheer brilliance at the part of Britannia, if I have to say that. While I was watching and people's comments and reading up about what experts had to say, everyone said that everybody talks about adaptability. This is adaptability on screen. This is you getting adaptation, you being resilient, you showcasing how you can change over a period of time. I think that speaks volumes about what we are discussing today. While we can talk about campaigns, I'm sure in the life of a marketer, there are many that do become huge success, but there must be some that do not do so well. What do you think, or what do you take from a failed campaign, and how do you look at it? How do you process a failed campaign if there?
Failed campaign is just like a failed film. If I was to give you a parallel, उतनी मेहनत लगती है, ऐसा नहीं है कि the effort goes less. The times when what you create doesn't resonate, it could be for multiple reasons that people think they can't process it or it is not meant for me, or possibly what you try to create didn't land the way it is. Whether it's a failed campaign or that insight was possibly not powerful enough or the insight was not that relevant at that point of time. But a failed campaign and a successful campaign are equal parts of the creation process. You can't only create for success. You have to create with the thought that it will be successful. But you will find failures also along the way. In fact, as people say, failures teach you more than ever success can.
Absolutely.
I think that's the way it is. So there are campaigns which just come and go and it does nothing. But I think you need to keep trying. And I think that's the way it should be. You shouldn't stop as a marketer saying ki it hasn't worked and hence I should not communicate.
So create with the thought that it will be successful.
Create with the thought, create with the effort to make it successful. But failure is also a passenger on the way.
Of course, I think it's like two sides of the coin. You have to try to flip it and then see which, and you can do your very best. Our central theme at the Brand Conclave 2025 is building brands for next generation customers. From your perspective, from your lens, what does a brand do when dealing with different kinds of customers, and what is Britannia doing for the next generation customers, the Gen Zs and Gen Alphas that are currently coming up?
So for us, the core business, which is there, what we have grown up with, Good Days and the Maris and the Milpikis of the world, continues to be there and will continue to be relevant. What we are also doing is that we are looking at exciting opportunities and we're creating brands and businesses which are relevant for today's new age consumers. So whether it is BU bars, whether it is Come Alive yogurt, Greek yogurt, we're looking at a lot of exciting categories which we are creating with newer brands, right? Where we are participating with them, we're talking to them in their language. We are creating digital first brands. We're creating packaging which is interactive because we know the codes don't necessarily remain exactly the same. You need to adapt, and especially some of the things which possibly are going to be very important for tomorrow's consumers, like for them, sustainability will possibly go to regeneration. It would not be only about digital. I think the world of digital will move to AI. I think a lot of these things are there in our mind. We're looking at how to participate in these and continue to be relevant for our consumers. For Britannia, the challenge would always be ki trust what we have created is not a permanent asset. Right. You will have to continue to work on it, continue to build on it so that it remains relevant even at the times ahead. And we will continue to look at exciting opportunities. We'll continues to look at food trends. We will continue to understand our consumers better, what they are seeking out.
Our theme at this Brand Conclave 2025 is building brands for next generation customers. From your perspective, from your lens, what is Britannia doing for different kind of customers, for the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas of the world?
So I'll give you one example of what Britannia is doing. I think food is both local and global. Today, food is very Instagrammable. And hence for us, we understand that consumers today are far more experienced into food which was not possibly native to India. Today, you see a Korean Cape pop all over the place. You see a lot of interest in Turkish food. And hence today, one of the ways which we are looking at is that we're looking at food which might not necessarily be known to people and bring it in the Indian template way. So crore is one such attempt. But we're looking at multiple categories which are possibly new to India, but not new to the world. And in today's context, people are willing to experiment. People are willing to try. I think the OTT space, the amount of information overload allows people to know what's exactly happening in a kid of the same age in New York to what is happening in Paris, to what is happening in Morocco, to what possibly might happen on your plate in India.
Correct.
So that is the way which we are looking at.
Our theme today at the Brand Conclave 2025 is building brands for next generation customers. From your perspective, from your lens, what is Britannia doing for the different set of customers?
What we are doing is that we are looking food in its entirety. We're looking at one of the things which I can share with you is that today food is both local as well as globally. Today food has become very Instagram. Our understanding of what's there on the plate of somebody in New York versus somebody in Paris versus somebody in Morocco is possibly known to us. Because we are in this whole era of OTT, we're in this era of where there's information overload, which is happening all across. And hence today, one of the things which we are borrowing from there is that are the global food interests which can possibly be relevant to India, can they come to India? Crore is one such example that 5 years, 10 years back, if somebody would have said that, will you have a package crore? He would say, what is it? We don't know. It's still a category creation job which we have run it. The other thing is that we're looking at multiple food trends. We're looking at newer opportunities in those food trends and bringing them in a newer manner, reimagining those categories. And hence, we see a lot of exciting possibilities ahead, which we want to participate and continue to give consumers newer reasons to consume Britannia, bring it home.
That's beautiful. How you said that food is not anymore local, it's global. You in India can know what a certain person or individual is having in Morocco, Russia, in London. As we come to a conclusion of this insightful and amazing conversation, we spoke about a lot of different things. We spoke from your personal story to what Britannia stands for, the campaigns, the things that stood out. If in your 20 years of experience, or more than 20 years of experience, if you had to distill one piece of advice for management students, what would it be to become leaders in global space, in industries?
I think if there's one advice or if there was one word which I have to leave behind for all of you is curiosity. I think if today you have to create businesses of tomorrow, if you have to be uh, brands which are relevant to tomorrow's generation, then be curious. Look around, question, challenge, appreciate different perspectives, and then create your solution to it. I think that's the most important thing. Everything else will fall in place, but don't lose curiosity. As we grow in life, we somewhere lose that childlike curiosity. I think that's the only message, or that's the single message which I will leave. Be curious, be hungry, and the world will be yours.
Well, thank you so much. Curiosity is the school of invention. This has been amazing conversation, insightful, and yet we got to know different perspective. In the morning, is it tea with biscuits or milk with biscuits or coffee? How is it?
Tea with nutritious digestive.
One word if you had to sum up your entire journey.
Fun, enthralling.
Gen Z, would they prefer nutrition or indulgence?
They would prefer exciting goodness.
One innovation that the world should be excited about Britannia.
Britannia treat croissant.
If you were not in FMCG, which other industry would we find you?
Possibly be in consumer durable, would be in any consumer facing space.
But there's one tagline that stands out from a brand. Which is that one tagline?
I think exciting goodness, I think really opens up a lot of possibilities for me. I really think it's so well done that you have indulgence on one side, you have nutrition on the other side, and you're trying to combine both of them and create excitement.
Ever since you started your career, which has been that one day which shifted it all, and what was it?
I don't think it's one day. I think it's a culmination of many such one days which bring you where you are.
What comes to your mind when I say Britannia?
Possibilities, excitement,
Your comfort food on a tough day.
eating home food.
If there was an option to collaborate with a global food brand, which one would it be?
Possibly Mondelez internationally has great portfolio. There's a brand called Cliff, which is in the nutrition bar space, which is very interesting. Kind is another brand which we really keep a close eye. I think all these brands seem to be interesting, which we would possibly look at working, collaborating.
Next generation customers is what theme today is. In terms of their preferences, and what was your personal opinion? Reels or long form content?
Good story is what matters. If the story is impactful, it would work even in a long format. If the story is not sorted, then possibly you need a reel to basically get over it very, very quickly.
One campaign that you wished Britannia launched yesterday.
I think everything what we do, we think we could have done it much before. So I think there are a lot of other campaigns, whether it is Fevicol, whether it is the recent Mondelez campaign, which is around bringing the North and South divide together. I think all are exciting pieces of work which we feel that you could have done it or you would have loved to do it.
One word one statement about that you felt as part of becoming brand conclave.
I think energy, spark, ideas. I think this is what I really felt brand conclave was all about.
And lastly, what is a brand to you?
I think brand is a person. It's you. How do you really show up your part of what you are in a special, differentiated way as what a brand is.
Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation today. Thank you so much for being a part of Brand Conclave.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure.
Thank you.